Welcome back to Comics and Lore, where we answer the question, how many times can a symbiote latch onto Spider-Man before it becomes a lifestyle? In part 1 we covered the first 5. Accidental outfits, emotional rebounds, cosmic upgrades, typical Spider-Man stuff. Today we're diving into the final 5 times a symbiote bonded with Spider-Man. And yes, that includes clones, alternative universes, and a period where Dr. Octopus was joyriding in Peter's body. Look, if a suit sticks to someone with spider powers, we're counting it. Strap in, these last 5 get weird.
At number 5. In Superior Spider-Man arc, Darkest Hours, Otto Octavius is still in Peter Parker's body when he crosses paths with Agent Venom, Flash Thompson. Otto decides his genius should be the one to wield the power of the symbiote. He forcibly removes it from Flash, puts it in containment, and even gives Flash the mobility upgrade while lecturing him. Flash warns him that he had the symbiote under control, and now it's scared, hurt, isolated, and a lot stronger than Otto remembers. The symbiote breaks out of containment and bonds to Otto quickly, creating Superior Venom. For a moment it tries to return to Flash, calling the old host wrong and a bad fit, but Otto asserts control. As Superior Venom, Otto keeps the aggression and adds his obsessive efficiency, taking down criminals fast and hard. Then he runs into Mary Jane, who demands a private talk about his behavior. She tells him he can't keep treating people like this. Otto snaps back that he can, towering over her as he turns into Superior Venom once more. Mary Jane responds with a simple, "Not again." Mary Jane alerts the Avengers that Peter has been taken over by Venom again. The Avengers coordinate a full frontal assault on Venom, wanting to save their fellow Avenger Spider-Man from going down this dark path again, not being aware that Otto is in full control and just leaning into his obsessive takeover tendencies. Otto gets blindsided when he learns that Tony isn't in his armor and gets a shock when Flash kicks him in the back of the head with a full iron boot as he's wearing the Iron Man suit. Otto's spider senses weren't able to warn him, as Flash still has traces of the symbiote in his system. With some help from the real Peter Parker's consciousness stepping in to help wrestle away the symbiote, Flash and Venom reunite again as Agent Venom, and Otto plays off very well that he was just being controlled by the symbiote, and any bad or weird behavior wasn't him. Fooling everyone for a little longer, and Otto's secret still being safe. Superior Venom burns bright and ends fast. 2 issues that show exactly what happens when ego meets a symbiote looking for control. At number 4, we have the Web of Carnage story that ran across multiple comics, starting with Sensational Spider-Man issue 3, then The Amazing Spider-Man issue 410, after that the mainline Spider-Man issue 67, and then ending with the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 233. Spider-Man at this time is Ben Reilly, with Peter Parker temporarily without powers. Peter tries to track Seward Trainer for answers to the clone mess while Ben gets pulled into the new Carnage case. Ben's investigations start when he comes across a civilian who seems to have been a mugging victim. When he tries to help, the man screams for him to stay away, saying that he looks just like the one who attacked him, exactly like the attacker, who had a red face, and Ben realizes the man is probably describing Carnage. It's later revealed that John Jameson has been taken over by the Carnage symbiote and has been causing havoc in the city. He and Ben get into a brawl downtown. As the body count rises, Ben confronts Jameson. To stop more civilians from dying, he makes the hard call. He lets the symbiote take him and becomes Spider Carnage. The power spike is immediate. So is the fight for control. Ben keeps pulling the reins, but he is overwhelmed with the freedom the Carnage symbiote offers him on a silver platter. Free from burdensome responsibilities, without guilt, remorse, or restraint. Ben wants to strike back at everyone and anyone who has ever tormented him. He heads into the night hoping to work out some of this anger while trying to remain in control and keep the Carnage symbiote's bloodlust at bay. It's not proving to be easy. Realizing he cannot hold it forever, Ben returns to Ravencroft. After breaking in and stopping himself from tearing all the guards apart, he has John Jameson escort him to the specialized cell built with Carnage countermeasures for the homicidal tenant, Cletus Cassidy. Ben chooses an extreme solution. He triggers a high-frequency microwave radiation inside the cell. The blast forces the symbiote to tear away from him. Weakened, it slips back through the plumbing, finds its way to the comatose Cassidy, reuniting it with the original host. That ends the Web of Carnage storyline. Norman Osborn had lost everything that once made him the Green Goblin. After Superior Spider-Man injected him with an anti-serum, the Goblin formula that fueled his power and madness was neutralized. Norman was just a man again, furious, humiliated, and obsessed with getting even with Spider-Man. When word reached him that S.H.I.E.L.D. was holding the Carnage symbiote, Norman saw his opening. He broke into the facility, stole the sample, and merged with it. The alien burnt the nanites out of his system, restoring the Goblin formula. But it came at a cost. Carnage's hunger mixed with Norman's insanity. What came out of that fusion was the Red Goblin, a version of Osborn stronger, faster, and crueler than anything Peter Parker had ever faced. At first, Norman plays it quiet. He hits the Daily Bugle, testing his new powers. When Spider-Man confronts him, Norman finally reveals the truth. The green mask is gone, replaced by a red nightmare. He tells Peter he knows everything, including his secret identity, and he gives him a choice: retire the mask or watch everyone he loves die. To prove he's serious, Norman breaks off pieces of the symbiote and hides them inside Peter's closest friends, Mary Jane, Aunt May, and even his own grandson, Normie Osborn, turning the child into a miniature goblin child. He can trigger any of them to explode into Carnage clones whenever he wants. Peter tries to keep up, but he's badly outmatched. Red Goblin tears through the city, taking down other heroes who try and intervene. Silk, Miles Morales, Clash, even the Human Torch. Meanwhile, Flash Thompson, now operating as Agent Anti-Venom, moves quietly through the city, removing the Carnage fragments from Peter's friends and saving as many people as he can. But the efforts drain him. When Red Goblin tracks Mary Jane to Stark Tower, Flash throws himself in front of her, takes the hit, and gets mortally wounded in the process. Desperate J. Jonah Jameson reaches out to Eddie Brock. Together, Spider-Man and Venom confront Red Goblin in the streets, but even their combined strength isn't enough. Norman's madness keeps pushing him harder. That's when Peter finally breaks. Watching Flash die pushes him over the edge. He lets the Venom symbiote bond with him, and for the first time in years, Spider-Man fights without restraint. The blows are faster, meaner, and louder. Red Goblin bleeds, but Peter knows he's slipping. The rage feels too easy. Flash's final words echo in his head, reminding him that Spider-Man wins because he never crosses the line. Peter pulls back control and takes one final stand in Times Square. Red Goblin tries to finish him, but Peter rips the symbiote off mid-fight and shouts the truth that cuts deeper than any punch. It's not the Green Goblin winning, it's Carnage using you. Norman's ego can't handle it. In a blind rage, he tears the Carnage symbiote off himself, insisting that he doesn't need it to kill Spider-Man, that he can defeat him all by himself. The two fight one last time, man versus man, Spider-Man versus Green Goblin. And as Peter is busy overpowering Norman, he also corrects him in saying that he isn't alone. His friends, his family, that they are with him in everything he does. The Carnage symbiote tries to get back to Norman again, and Peter has to think quickly. The symbiote still has all of the normal weaknesses, and that's when Peter realizes that there is fire all around them, and he starts to beat it with anything he can grab. It seems like he was successful and has burnt the symbiote away. The story ends with Norman locked up in Ravencroft, confused as to who he really is, and thinks Spider-Man is Norman Osborn, while Norman thinks he is Cletus Cassidy. Spider-Man's secret identity is that once more. This all happens during Spider-Geddon, the sequel to Spider-Verse. At this point, the multiverse spider army is fractured and exhausted. The Inheritors, those vampire-like predators that feed on spider totems, have found a way to come back using clone bodies created by the superior octopus. The spiders try to stop it, but they're too late. The cloning machines overload and the Inheritors escape, stronger, faster, and angrier than before. After the explosion at Octavius' lab, the team gets scattered. Miles Morales finds himself separated from Superior Spider-Man and the others. They regroup in an alternate universe, and Miles takes charge, rallying what's left of the army while trying to figure out how to end the Inheritors for good. During their search, Miles and a small group recruit the PlayStation Spider-Man from Earth 1048. Yeah, the Insomnia Games version. That Spider-Man tells Miles he's doing a good job leading, that he's got real potential. The moment matters because it's the first time Miles starts seeing himself as more than a sidekick or the kid in the group. Not long after the spiders learn about the Enigma Force, the cosmic power source that turns its host into Captain Universe, its pure energy often described as the God of Light, the same one later connected to Null's opposite in King in Black. The spider army tries to summon it, hoping for an edge against the Inheritors. The Force actually answers them, but it says none of them are worthy. One by one they give up arguing except for Miles. Miles stands his ground. He tells the Force that nobody is perfect, that waiting for the right hero will take forever while people keep dying.
He doesn't ask for the power for himself. He asks for it so that they can save lives. When the Inheritors attack again, Miles leads the counter-strike. Superior Spider-Man, Spider-Man 1048, and the rest are pushed to the brink as Solace, their leader, tears through everything in front of them. Then Miles drops in, glowing with the Enigma Force. Solace tries to drain him like he did the previous Captain Universe host, but Miles remembers the stories. He keeps his distance and doesn't let the Inheritor touch him. Using his Venom Blast, merged with cosmic power, Miles starts turning the fight. Every hit burns through Solace's defenses. Then he channels all that energy through Leopardon's Sword Vigor, the massive blade from the Japanese Spider-Man's giant mech, and drives it straight through Solace, ending him for good. The other Inheritors panic. Without their leader, they scatter, and the Spider Army moves in to contain them. Using the cloning tech that revived the Inheritors in the first place, the team decides to reprogram it and regress them into infants, giving them a literal second chance to grow up without a hunger for blood. With the multiverse safe again, the Enigma Force quietly leaves Miles. Its job done. The power fades and he's back to being Spider-Man. No cosmic glow, no divine backup, just good old Miles Morales. That's how Miles becomes Captain Universe, chosen not because he was the strongest, but because he refused to quit. At number 1, we have the time Miles Morales stopped being Spider-Man for a moment and became something much closer to Carnage. This takes place during the absolute carnage when Cletus Cassidy is back from the dead and New York is overrun with people turned into red, spiral-marked drones under his control. The big picture is Venom and Spider-Man trying to stop Null's influence and the Grendel symbiote. Miles is just trying to keep his part of Brooklyn from getting torn apart. We start on what should have been a normal day. Miles is out of costume, hanging with a friend, eyeing a ridiculously expensive pair of sneakers that he can't afford. Then an armored truck gets hit. Money starts raining down the street, and Scorpion is behind it. The mood flips instantly. Miles ducks away, goes invisible, and suits up as Spider-Man. He swings in, webs up Scorpion's tail, and the fight kicks off. Scorpion mocks him, calls him Spider-Man Jr. and a Brooklyn knockoff. At first, Miles handles him. Webbing, acrobatics, Venom blasts, but Mac Gargan is still Mac Gargan. He breaks out, gets hold of Miles, and holds him like a baseball. It's messy, but Miles keeps getting back up. Then things get worse. A group of identical pale figures in orange jumpsuits swarm the scene. They look like Ravencroft inmates, all with the same spiral symbol on their heads. At first they're chanting Gargan, Gargan, Gargan. Then it shifts to kill, kill, kill. They're after Scorpion, but when Miles intervenes to stop them, tearing Mac apart, he becomes a target too. Miles realizes quickly these people are not acting of their own free will. The orange jumpsuits are Ravencroft uniforms. The spiral mark is something that he's seen before on a symbiote. These are regular people being used as puppets. He wants to stop them without killing anyone. Scorpion does not care. He hits back as hard as he can and promises to finish dealing with Spider-Man once this is over. The odds start stacking up. Miles is getting swarmed. Scorpion decides he is tired of being part of the problem and shoves Miles towards the horde as bait so he can run. It almost works, until the real threat shows up. Carnage. This is Cassidy, boosted by the Grendel symbiote. He appears out of nowhere, grabs Scorpion, and tells him he still has a piece of the symbiote left with him from an old bond. Carnage wants it back, and he starts to tear Mac's spine out to get it. Miles hits Carnage with a full Venom blast just to break that grip. It buys just enough time for Venom to arrive, snatch Scorpion, and get out, leaving Miles alone on the street with Carnage's horde. Carnage decides Miles is useful. He tells his followers to bring the kid into the fold. The red mass hits all at once. Tendrils wrap around Miles from every direction. He tries to fight, but the more he struggles, the tighter it gets. His strength drains, his lights go out. The symbiote drowns him and drags him under. When it's done, Miles is gone. What stands up is a Spider-Man Carnage hybrid, a twisted version of his costume, full of teeth, claws, and spirals. Inside, Miles can still feel himself, but his body is part of Carnage's army now. The other converted hosts are called a family. Their minds are muffled and pushed down. The will of Null and Carnage sits over everything. The first big job is an assassination. Along with another Carnage-possessed killer, Miles is sent to murder J. Jonah Jameson. They smash through the office window, teeth bared and screaming, "Kill!" Jonah runs for his life. Silver Sable and her team arrive just in time to slow them down, but the possessed Miles is brutal. Even as he attacks, the real Miles is screaming inside that it isn't him. For a moment he manages to pull back, clawing at his own head, and he fights the symbiote's control. Jonah is almost killed. Miles actually sinks his teeth into him, tasting blood that isn't his, and that's the breaking point. He finally forces the words out. "This isn't me!" He pushes back with everything he has and triggers a venom blast from inside the symbiote. The shock rips the red mass off his body. For the first time since the swarm hit him, Miles is himself again. Exhausted, confused, but free. The red organism slithers away in search of a new host. It doesn't stop there, of course. The fragment goes on to possess other people, including one of the serial killers involved, and eventually even Jameson on another form. Miles spends the rest of the tie-in issues trying to stop these new monsters, saving who he can, and using his venom blast to force the symbiote to let go. In the main Absolute Carnage event, things escalate even further. Miles ends up bonded again, fully turned into a Carnage doppelganger under the Grendel Hive, and is forced to fight his own allies, including Venom. Eventually, Eddie Brock manages to weaken the controlling symbiote long enough for Miles to break free for good, and rejoin the heroes. So yeah, Miles doesn't just fight Carnage's army. For a while, he's actually part of it. And that's the full list. Every time a symbiote has bonded with Spider-Man, or Spider-Man adjacent, or someone Spider-Man technically was for tax purposes. If you enjoy the chaos, hit a like, drop a comment telling me which version of Spider-Man absolutely should not be trusted with a symbiote, and subscribe for more comic book breakdowns. Hit that notification bell like you're trying to peel a symbiote off of your face, and we'll see you in the next video.